Okay, just if you can introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you.
So my name is Elyse. I live in Selwyn. I had two daughters. I have a 6-year-old and I had another 6-year-old. She would now be 9.
Okay, and what made you want to share your story on the Let Me Speak campaign today?
I think when I saw the post on Instagram, just kind of felt like something that I wanted to do. I feel like I've learned quite a lot over the last couple of years and over my child's illness, and I really feel like child loss is quite taboo.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be.
Why do you think it is?
Well, like you, I had a molar pregnancy as well between my children, and I remember one conversation I had the day it happened, that I found out that there was no baby, and someone said to me in my circle, you shouldn't tell people about this, eh?
Why?
I don't know, is it like a generational thing, like it's something that shouldn't be talked about? But I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I kind of, even from that, and that was, back in 2015, I thought, well, that doesn't sit right with me. So when it happened, not obviously the same, but when it happened again, when we lost our child, I was like, well, I'm not going to be quiet because I didn't do anything wrong again. And why can't we talk about these things and, make it easier for other people to have these conversations? And also, I feel like sometimes some people don't know what to say. So maybe this will help people learn what to say.
Fuck yes, love that, Elyse. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, where does your story or your journey with child loss begin?
So, obviously between my children, I did have the molar pregnancy. And we ended up having another child literally a year later, on the day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite auspicious. So we had 2 daughters, but in 2018, our eldest child, Nora, she was diagnosed with liver cancer. She was 5, so that's sort of where it began. There was no, big symptoms or... I just she'd been vomiting sort of on and off for a few months, and I don't know, I'd started back at work after having both our girls, and it became quite obvious that I was having time off, because when your kid is sick, they have to have 48 hours off school, so I then had to have 48 hours off work, and I just started in a job, so it started to look quite bad, and so I thought, well, I'll take her to the doctor, and we went to the doctor. And he was amazing and really put us at ease. I still wasn't worried. He just said, he felt her stomach and said, it feels a bit funny, it feels a bit large.
Was this on the first doctor's appointment that you went into?
Yeah, so I know lots of people have stories that they really struggled to get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
We didn't. But the tumour could be felt. But I'm not a doctor, so... I didn't know that didn't feel right, or,
But at this stage, were you just thinking, what were you thinking? Just
I mean, I think mine was racing a little. I never went to cancer.
Yeah, fuck no.
He sent us to the hospital fairly quickly. We were sort of there within an hour, and a couple of doctors came in, they drew some blood, which was really traumatic, mainly for me, because I don't like blood, but, holding down a child to get a blood test. And it kind of felt still a wee bit serious at that point, but I still wasn't very sure.
Yeah, how serious, yeah.
No, and no one mentioned that might be a possibility. There was actually no mention of what it could be. We just don't know what this is.
So what did the doctor say? What is the reason he's sending her to the hospital?
He just said her stomach, he said her liver and her bowel felt big. But I didn't know where the liver was, and I didn't get out my phone and Google it, because I kind of thought I knew what it might say, but maybe I just didn't want to know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the next day She had an ultrasound, and the technician said there's a large tumour on her liver.
Fuck.
And I still didn't go to cancer. I just didn't, because I don't think I thought that would happen.
Worst case.
And I don't think anyone thinks that will happen to them.
Yeah.
Like you said today to Victor, you see stories like that on the TV.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen in your family, it happens to someone else.
So that was, and you know what, the morning actually that I found Alaska, even looking at him, and he hadn't moved for 2 hours, and his feet was in the same position, and still that I never went to that, because that's the last fucking thing, it's not even a fucking blip on the radar. So
you almost don't want to make the connection.
Yeah.
Because then it makes it real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what happened when they said that was a tumour?
Well, I still didn't go to the C word.
Yeah.
Not COVID, but I didn't go to cancer. It wasn't until a man came in and he said, "Hi, I'm a child oncologist," and he said, "Your child has liver cancer," that it was, man, it was sort of a few hours after that. And then we got taken down to the ward, like the child cancer ward, and it was just like I was outside of my body. It was so unreal, and making phone calls and saying it, I was like, I can't believe this is coming out of my mouth. It just, she's 5, it doesn't make any sense. And like liver cancer, kids don't get liver cancer.
Yeah.
But
and this was all in a time frame. How long would you say from the moment you went to the doctor till you're finding this out?
Less than 24 hours.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And so what did they say from there?
It's all like it. I can feel the steps. I know what happened next. I know there was meetings. I know, the conversations that were had. But when it all boils down to it, it was just like, your daughter has liver cancer, but the prognosis was really great. It was like, we give her an 83% chance of being cured of this. So, I mean, I'm still at this point like unbelievably hopeful.
Yeah.
And I don't.
No, yeah. I'm the same.
I never went to, what if this doesn't work? Like I never went there. And I just don't think that was also in. Not that I'm like overly positive. No one would say that about me. Like I feel like I'm a pretty like a real person, and I understand that shitty things happen to good people.
Yeah.
But I still didn't ever go there, and I watched her over sort of the next 6 months. That was sort of the plan anyway, was 6 months of treatment, and then she would be done and dusted. But it started to look a bit bad. It started to look bad. It wasn't working how it was supposed to. Like she wasn't following the path that they thought she would. So she went through chemo, and then had a big surgery to remove the tumour. And that all went really well, and she was amazing. Like
Fuck you, strong little girl, eh?
Oh yeah, and like never complained, and like found the fun in everything. Like being hooked up to machines, she didn't care. She still would be dancing and making up dances, and like running around the ward with the other kids. I think that lots of people assume that a child cancer ward will be a certain way, and I think I did too. And it was the complete opposite. It was real fun.
Yeah.
And it was loud, and we made some beautiful friendships, and met some amazing kids. But yeah, the first time we were told like, this isn't working. We need to look for something else. That's kind of when I thought, okay, so we might lose her. But each time it was presented that, we can try something else. Like the road's not.
Yeah, like
there's
an alternative potentially, So we're thinking this is, fucked up, but there's options.
Totally.
We've got options.
Totally. And so we went through all of the New Zealand options. And then.
And was there many?
There's two sort of lines of of treatment in New Zealand, maybe a third. So we got down to the third, and then it still just, it kept coming back. Because it wasn't just in her liver, it had spread to her lungs, like even when she was first diagnosed. So we, like, you know, that's stage 4. But I don't think I even thought, well, that's pretty bad. But it's bad. Stage 4 cancer is bad. So yeah, we got through the 3 lines, and I was told for the 3rd time, she's not going to be here forever. You're not going to get to keep her.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And how does that feel, being told that?
It's unbelievable. Like, you have a vision of when you have your children and what you think your life will be like with them. Don't think that, you know, that will happen, as you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'd love to say that each time it got easier, but I think each time it got worse. Because it's like, well, this is, you know, it's being told to me more than once now, and it's starting to set in. And the 3rd time was, there's nothing else. But there was something else. So Nora got approved for treatment in Texas. So we went to Texas, and she was like the 2nd patient in the world to receive CAR T-cell for solid tumour in a liver. It's been in the media that, you know, lots of people have had T-cell transplants and done really well, but it's not something that's done in a solid tumour. So it never even crossed my mind that she could have had that. But yeah, we raised over $200,000 and took her to Texas.
And what were the chances?
I didn't even ask that, because I just didn't think there was any choice.
Yeah.
Like, even though they told me it was 1%, I still would have fucking gone.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You know, I'm unbelievably grateful that we exhausted absolutely every opportunity. Yeah. I don't have any regrets.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You know, I maybe that is a nice thing, that I don't have any of those regrets.
Yeah.
Because I know that other people that have lost children probably have lots of regrets. You know, the what ifs. I never played that in my head. Because we did everything that we could. And also in a position that we could do that. Not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
And I know that we are really lucky that we got to do that.
So you just went over to Texas.
And it looked really good. Like, it was starting to work. We were there for 6 weeks. It was really boring as well, though. Like, Texas is boring.
Is it?
Yeah, we went to Houston, and like where we were staying, like it's just basically hospitals all around, and we couldn't go too far because part of the terms of the trial is that you don't get too far away from the hospital. So if anything happens, then they can look after her. And you know, as much as our house system, you know, isn't the best, you don't want to live there and go through with that, because some of the things that we saw and heard were, you know, unbelievable. Like, you turn up to the hospital and they ask you for a credit card. Like, just...
Wow, in the hospital?
Yeah, so we had to go to A&E once. She had a temperature, and kids with cancer literally can't get a temperature. So we went there, and yeah, we got asked for a credit card, which, you know, when you're used to what we used to, it blew my mind. Like, yeah, I'd given you all this money, but yeah, to still ask, you know, and yeah, it was eye-opening. And yeah, while our house system isn't the best, I'm very grateful that I don't have to hand over a credit card every time I go to the hospital. So yeah, we got through that, and we got to come home, which was amazing. And when you've been away for so long, you appreciate everything so much more.
Yeah.
And like, just little things. And they had said a couple of things that made me think it wasn't going to be the answer, but sort of not enough. And I don't think I inquired enough about how well they thought it would work. I mean, maybe I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got to come home, and yeah, we just had the best summer ever. We spent just 6 weeks just literally non-stop. Like, we were so tired. we just didn't like say no to anything, because I kind of thought this might be it. And then we had a follow-up blood test, and liver cancer puts out a marker in your blood, and that marker, which had been dropping in when we were in the US, had gone all the way back up. So yeah, so it was a phone call. Unfortunately, it wasn't a face-to-face conversation when I got that, and she was in the car, so I just sort of held it together. But I knew that was it, and they said, maybe 6 to 12 months, which seemed like a really long time. Like, I was pretty grateful that was probably the time that we were going to get, but we didn't get it. We got 2 weeks.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah. So she passed away 1st February 2020. So she was just 10 days short of her 7th birthday.
How did you get through that?
She was so like happy, and like she's laying in hospital dying, but I didn't tell her that's what was happening, because we were told that kids that age, quite often, if they're told, are scared to fall asleep, and I didn't want her to be terrified and to not fall asleep, and a 6-year-old doesn't really understand death, so we just kind of had way too much fun. Like, she got to play with slime and got to see lots of people, and like our whole family came down, and we just spent lots of time with her. So I was really surrounded, and I think about my beautiful best friends that moved heaven and earth to be with us. And so I think that I got through it because of the people around me, but mainly because of her. She was so brave, and I think at the end she did know, but she wouldn't have told me that she knew, and not 5 minutes before she was wiggling around, and like making a joke and making me laugh. So I know that she was really, really comfortable, and still unbelievably happy. So I think I drew a lot of what I could do, because she had already done it all. Like, she had already gone through so much. So I could totally do this for her. I don't want to, like, hide away or, sink into myself and not be there for her, because I didn't want to have any regrets. Like I said before, like, I don't have any. And I didn't want to have any.
So she was like your inspiration to be brave.
Yeah.
Through that time.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And how have you been since?
Well, shortly after she passed, obviously, we went into lockdown. So I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But in hindsight, I think it was a good thing. I did lots of things that I probably wouldn't have had time for if we hadn't have done that. Like, I read lots of books about losing children, and while they didn't all fit, I got things from all of them, and I did quite a lot of stuff that made me really uncomfortable. Just to, I don't know what I was trying to do, but I was trying to, I don't know, like, speed up the process almost, which you cannot do, and I do not recommend. But I did lots of things that made me uncomfortable. Like I did Zoom conversations with other bereaved parents and kind of, you know, and listening to them talk about, especially if they were further along than me, it was kind of like, well, if they can do it, then I can do it.
So it sounds like you were looking for tools to put in your belt to help you with the journey that was ahead.
Totally. And like, I wish that I had heard someone have this conversation. You know, like I wish I had known. And while we're on the ward, other kids did pass away. These conversations aren't had on the ward. It's almost like the kids that are dying or aren't going to make it, like we put them away. But kids die of cancer, you know, and I wish that conversation, while it's awful, it's the truth.
Yeah. What would you say to anyone that is going through child loss or...
Do uncomfortable things. Maybe do them a bit slower than I did. But do uncomfortable things. You know, like if you're offered grief counselling, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it helps. And if you think that it's not the right relationship, then find someone else.
Yeah.
You know, read books, listen to podcasts if that's your thing. Find things that they don't make you feel better, but they distract you a little, and maybe, like you say, they give you tools to help you get through. Because I don't think this gets better. I like to say it gets lighter. Yeah. It doesn't get better.
Yeah, I don't. What would you say about having your support network? How important does that role play?
It's a mixed bag. I am someone who would prefer to do a lot of it myself. And I wouldn't be someone that would say, hey, I'm having a shit time. I'll just do things I need to do to make myself get through that shit time.
Yeah.
But I know that's not right for everyone. But also be very aware that the people you think will support you, they might not. And that's what, you know, going back to that, it's taboo, like people don't know what to say. Sometimes your closest friends and family don't know what to say. And maybe this advice is for those people is don't make decisions for people that have lost children without asking them.
Yeah.
Quite often people say, oh, I thought I would reach out, but I didn't want to upset you. Well, you've made a decision for me without me knowing about it. Whereas, you know, maybe that message would have come at a good time.
True that, eh?
Yeah, that's a big thing that I think I learned, is that sometimes the people you think will be there for you, they might not be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come from a place of they don't want to be, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
But I think if we all have these conversations, then surely it gets easier.
How did the grief impact your family or your marriage?
We have quite a strong-willed family. You know, like strong females in my family. So our marriage is fine. It's good. We have conversations when we need to, but you also have to be very careful. And I don't know that I do this, I know that he does this, but to not put your grief onto each other.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've experienced it, but when you lose someone close to you, there's a bubble, and you sort of don't want to, you know, reach out into the rest of the bubble because you don't want to hurt your inner bubble. So we say things when they're necessary, but sometimes it's okay to just grieve by yourself for a little bit.
Yeah.
Our other child, she has been up and down. Took her a wee while to understand. She said some very beautiful things though, which I will forever remember, because, you know, she was only 4.
Yeah.
But, you know, that Nora was in a caravan in the sky, which I absolutely love. So yeah, I know it's hard on her because she had a sibling, and now
That's what we had to do, was had to, in like the blink of a fucking eye, had to think of a story to tell the kids, because Jordan and Russia were only little, and I had to think of something to tell them, and immediately I thought it has to be somewhere that they can never visit.
yes,
Because then they'll ask me, they'll beg me for me to take them there. And I remembered that week in school, like daycare, they were learning about the stars and about the moon, and they knew where the stars and the moon were and how far away it was. So that's what I said. That's where Alaska had gone. He had gone to live up in the stars now. And that's just a really fucked up thing for parents to have to think and come up with a fucking story to tell these younger ones, you know. So, and I still remember fucking Jordan saying to me, Mum, can I build a rocket and can we go and visit him? And I was just like, oh my fucking God, this is fucked. So yeah, for her to say the caravan in the sky, that's...
yeah.
Does she have much memories?
Yeah, she has lots, and they're very similar. So, yeah, every now and then I get, you know, like do a double take, and they laugh the same. So sometimes I hear her laugh in the other room, and I'm like, whoa. Yeah. But she knows that she's similar. I think she quite likes that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she really idolised her, and you know, I mean, I've got a big sister. I know what that's like. So, yeah, she's, like I said, she said some really beautiful things, which, you know, and quite often you're driving in the car. I don't know why kids do that. And so she'll say something really sweet, but it's absolutely heartbreaking. So I'm driving and I'm bawling and trying to hide that I'm not bawling.
Yeah, hard out. Yeah. No, well, I just want to say on behalf of me and my mate here in CWK, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Like, oh, fucking... yeah, and we wish you the absolute best, you and your whānau, for your fella's future.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.